Welcome back to the table. Today, Emily and I are going to give you a look at a game called Thiefdom from Karma Games. This is a new one from them. If it's been a while since you've heard from them, you're right. They did Clans of Caledonia, which is a vastly different game. This is not a Euro-y game. This is a pick up and deliver, which is not typically in our wheelhouse, but this pick up and deliver does something with a little bit of a twist because you're playing as thieves and you're not only controlling a group of thieves or a guild of thieves out on this board trying to steal things, but you're also going to be taking turns controlling the patrol, which is going to be some of the nobles on the board, which you can steal from, and some of the guards, which are going around that have kind of fields of vision trying to catch you.
And they can arrest you, right? So as thieves, you're trying to pick up things, deliver them, kind of fence them without getting detected by the guards.
Yeah, and you can see here we've got this prototype set up. There could be some things that change here, but this is in pretty good shape. It is a modular board that you're going to set up here. We have this set up for 2 players that has these 6 boards. Then you've got this board over here that tracks the rounds of the game as well as some of the end game scoring. Over here, we've got some of the badges that you can collect from the patrol guards, some of the things that you can steal from the nobles, and some wanted posters that might go on you if you try to steal from the carriage. The carriage is going to also be making its way around this board from lantern to lantern. And then finally, we have some items here that you're going to be collecting throughout the game if you go to certain locations, as well as some friends that you can make. We've got these player boards here that represent our guilds. We're going to have 3 thieves, and then every turn or every round, the players are going to have one of these cards that represents the patrol. But above the board and below the board, you're going to have items and some of those characters.
Yes, and so what's important on your own board too is that, so I have those people on the patrol that I'm moving, but I also have my own thieves. What we're going to do to start the round is we're going to decide which order you want to do those in. So I have up to 3 of my own thieves and the patrol. I can choose who's going first, who's going second, who's going third, and this matters, right?
Yeah.
Because I can move these guards in a way that I can get it just to the right spot, and if I can see David, that person's going under arrest, they're going to the dungeon, and so his turn for that person is going to be vastly different than it would have otherwise.
Yeah, for sure. You're going to want to take a look at that because it almost has, I wouldn't call the game a programming game outright, but it definitely has a programming feel when you're laying these tiles down. Everyone gets a tile that on one side has a 1, 2, 3, and a 4. And that's the order that you're going to fire these off. Everyone does that privately, and then everyone reveals that. And then in turn order, everyone's going to do their 1, and then everyone's going to do their 2. But if my 1 is that patrol, I can very much look at the state of the board and go, oh, well, I could just move this and catch so-and-so.
Yes.
But if my patrol is, say, my 3rd one, I'm going to want to take a look at what people are doing and kind of get a sense of what they might try to be doing. More importantly than that, you might want to look at where everyone else has their patrols.
Exactly.
Because if Emily has their patrol on 2 and on my first action I move here, knowing that she could then run around the corner and catch me, or move that noble out of where I want to try to steal from them, that's going to be something you want to take into consideration. And that's that twist I think that this adds, is that you're not just moving sort of your pieces around the board. You do have your pieces, but everyone has those mutual pieces that you're going to share. Because these patrol cards represent just some of the guards and some of the nobles that are on the board. And then once the round is over, everyone's going to pass those around the table so that you then control a different set of guards and a different set of nobles.
It's very opportunistic, right? You want to see what's going on where you're at. So on each turn, as I do my guard, or as I do one of my thieves, I get to take up to 3 different actions, right? So I can be moving from building to building, or I can be dropping off things, interacting with the building. And so some of the things I'm doing while I'm going to these different buildings, they have their own things, but basically what I'm doing is I'm taking new items, collecting them, and then trying to drop them off and fence them at different places for some victory points. But there are some other cool things you can do, like you can get more items and you can pay for those, or you can try to make friends and gain 1 friend per person.
Yeah, and the friends and the items are going to add even more action. So in a lot of games, I think you'd collect those, and they might do a little something or add something here. Like for instance, this one doesn't add an action, but it's a sack that allows me in this thief to carry more gold. Each thief is going to have a exact inventory of what they can store of goods and what they can store of gold. That one enhances it, but some of the other items might have all-out actions that you can take. So now on that thief's turn, one of the actions is what's on this card. And some of those cards might have you discard that card, but some of them are ongoing. You had messenger pigeons.
So I could exchange up to 3 of my goods with 3 goods with someone else on my team. And the thing too about these items and friends is that it's specific to that thief.
Yes.
So I can't just be like, oh, it's Alexander's turn, he's going to use Julius's messenger pigeons. No.
Yeah.
I can only use the messenger pigeons on Julius's turn. I can try to find more messenger pigeons to put on Alexander, but that might be hard to do in this game. So you're kind of each building its own thief and its own really cool things it can do and trying to set them specifically up for situations where they can work best.
Yeah, that takes some getting used to, because in most games you think, oh, it's my turn, here's the things I have at my disposal. But you're kind of playing 3 different characters, especially throughout the game as they evolve. And there are times, I think, where you'll get to your turn and you're like, oh, I'll be able to do that. And you might forget, like, oh, no, he doesn't have the grappling hook.
Yep.
You know, the grappling hook's really cool. It's an action that you can take to kind of like zip line effectively between 2 buildings across alleyways. And maneuvering around this board is a big part of the game. In fact, you see these tiles out, you're going to be moving between these alleys, but these here are the different locations that allow you to do the different things. Steal a little bit of money, take a painting and get rid of it. You've got villas in these positions that have paintings and gems that you can get. Some of those things are locked, so you might need to get some lock picks in order to get them. And then you also have these catacombs, which I would say I would highly recommend not overlooking, because those are huge helps in getting around the board, because you can actually go through a catacomb and get to one of the other catacombs, and it effectively makes the space just outside the catacomb adjacent to all of those other spaces. But yeah, players are going to do this, taking their turns, moving their thieves, moving the guards, moving the nobles, all trying to steal from the nobles, steal from the carriage when you can. You might even go to the jail or the tower here, and that's a place where you can get rid of a wanted poster.
Yep.
You can go back to your hideout and get rid of a wanted poster too, but if you go here, you're actually able to convert those into points. So you might not think that getting a wanted poster is a good thing, and it isn't, because when you do have a wanted poster, the carriage and the nobles can also arrest you. But it might be worth the risk, because you could get that and convert it into 3 points, which is a valid part of the game.
Exactly. Everything can kind of lead you to a strategy to victory. Like you had a point too where you could even purposely get under arrest and have somebody in the dungeon where all your stuff goes when you're arrested, and the other person just picks all that stuff right back up and sells it right there at the dungeon.
Yeah, the little engines that you can create based on the friends that you've made, the items that you've collected, are really interesting. Like the engine Emily just mentioned about getting all the stuff from the dungeon, because that is effectively where all of the goods go when someone's arrested. But there are also some little locations next to where your hideout might be. And you might get a friend that allows you to do a little extra something in your hideout, like get rid of some of the goods. And you could just bounce back and forth between there. Now, some of those engines can peter out, and I think that's naturally part of the design. But it creates some interesting things that I think will make the game play a little bit differently every time you play it, depending on what you're able to grab.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, each of the 6 rounds has basically that night phase where you're doing all of these things, and then a day phase, which is effectively the administrative, cleaning things up. And then at certain points in there, after round 2 and round 4, you're going to do some upkeep where you replenish some of the things, because a lot of these things are very limited. Those badges you can collect by stealing from the patrol, the things that you can steal from the nobles, all those things, and including these smuggler contracts, which we didn't even mention. There's smuggler contracts out there where they're looking for specific items, and if you can get to those locations and trade those in, you'll be able to fulfill that for some points. But those things only get replenished twice throughout the game. So you got to get them while the getting's good, and everyone's out there to try to do the same thing. So you're going to want to keep looking around the board and moving around the board. We talked about this. You see the board here. Movement is pretty straightforward, but when you're moving your thieves and moving any of the other pieces, you're going to be hopping over things.
Yes.
So you're able to move quite a bit greater distances, I think, than you normally would.
So when you're moving, you get 1 to 3 movement. If you go into a building, you're going to stop, right? But you can make that much longer by, like you said, going through the corridors, or if you hop over nobles, hop over opponents. Now, if you hop over opponents, though, you do have to lose a victory point, so you're kind of thinking about it that way. But really, especially when you're moving the patrol, they move from lantern to lantern, right? Which sometimes can be right next to each other. But if there are other people on the lanterns already, you can chain it in a way where this noble goes from here all the way like halfway
Yeah.
across the board because you had it just right lined up. And that again goes back to that planning.
Yeah, and I think that's designed well enough to where it keeps most gamers at the table. It's hard to go, okay, I'll just do this. And before you know it, someone's going to sneak up on you and you're going to go, oh, I did not realize that you could move this patrol or this guard all the way over because all of these lanterns were filled up with either players or other nobles or the carriage, things like that. So it keeps everybody on their toes for sure. But that is what you're going to be doing for the whole game. And then there's a long list of endgame scoring for all the money, of all the things you've collected, your contracts. You go through all that, and of course, whoever has the most points wins the game. That is Thiefdom from Karma Games. If you have any questions at all, please make them in the comments below. We'll get down there and answer whatever we can. Until next time, though, make sure everyone has fun at the table, and we'll see you then.